Good morning, welcome back to another video and welcome back to Sweden, where I am spending my first winter during 11 years. But if you think that I'm here on vacation, then you are highly mistaken, because I'm actually working harder than ever to find my new dream apartment back home in Taiwan. So in this video, I wanted to share the biggest differences when it comes to finding an apartment in Sweden versus Taiwan. But for now, I think we're gonna continue this video inside my house here in Sweden, just to make sure that we don't freeze to death and also make sure that we actually finish our daily morning routine. Now, of course, the most important part when it comes to your dream apartment in Taiwan, at least according to myself, is to live together with your dream girlfriend. And as you might remember, part of the living together arrangements I had with Minthia is that just like I've been taking care of our future together, I also need to start taking care of myself as well, which thankfully is super easy to do thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Foreo. If you didn't know, Foreo is a Swedish skincare company focusing on facial cleansing devices such as this Luna 4. But more about this Luna 4 later in this video, because now I'm already done with my morning routine and all ready to find my dream apartment somewhere in Taiwan. Now, the elephant in the room is that Swedish apartments and specifically Swedish houses are actually big enough to actually have an elephant in the room. But other than that, I think that the main difference between Taiwanese and Swedish apartments is actually how you find these apartments themselves. And just to bring everyone up to speed, assuming not everyone has actually lived in a Taiwanese apartment, your first apartment, especially as a foreigner in Taiwan, would most likely be a shared apartment that you have found in some English-speaking Facebook group, and also most likely not that much bigger than the chicken house we have back home here in Sweden. But then, after more or less 1 year in Taiwan, and when it's time for your second home and maybe even your first own home in Taiwan, that's when you will discover the website 591, or in Chinese, 591, which, by the way, although the name just appears completely random for us English speakers, the name actually translates to house transaction or house deal in Chinese. And it is also on this website where you will discover that although you think that your Chinese is mama hoo hoo after your first year in Taiwan, you absolutely have no idea how the Taiwanese system and specifically the different apartment measurements actually work back home in Taiwan. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the Swedish system is any easier. For example, here we have a Swedish house, and on this side we have the Swedish earth basement, as we call it, which is basically just a natural fridge where we put all kinds of stuff, for example, potatoes, drinks, and some more potatoes. But back home in Taiwan, and specifically on 591, there will be two different kinds of apartment buildings that you can search for. One would be gongyu, and the other one would be diantidalo. And if you would translate this in English, then one would mean apartment or apartment building, and the other one would translate to a building with an elevator, which is super confusing since we previously lived in a gongyu with an elevator. But to make the apartment hunting in Taiwan even more difficult, in Taiwan they don't use square meters. Instead, the measurement of area is actually something called ping, which is from the Japanese era, and if you would Google it, it would be 6 by 6 feet, which translates to roughly 3.3 square meters, or just the average size of a queen size bed. And just to make matters worse, no one really seems to know the size of their apartments in pings, or in square feet, or in square meters, so it's a complete mess. So if you do see an interesting listing, I highly recommend to go and check it out by yourself before actually deciding to get that apartment or not. But thankfully, that is something that is super easy to do back home in Taiwan. Because something that is super amazing when it comes to finding apartments in Taiwan is that on these listings you will have direct contact, and most likely the line contact or the direct phone number to the landlord himself. So you can actually call the landlord, set up a meeting, go and see the apartment, and maybe even sign the contract the same day as you've seen the listing online. And this is something that would be completely impossible to do here in Sweden, although I would argue that the Swedish system might be a little bit more fair. Just like anything else when it comes to a Swedish system, it just takes forever to go through the entire process. But something that will absolutely not take forever is the Luna 4 daily face cleansing. Now, as you might have noticed here on the channel, I haven't been the best when it comes to taking care of myself, and specifically my hair and my skin. But coming back home here to Sweden, I noticed that both the climate and my skin is actually a lot drier compared to back home in Taiwan. So I decided, especially with the move together in with my girlfriend coming up, I just had to do something about it. So I simply did what every Swedish man would do, to ask his Swedish female friends what they recommend. And it turns out that every single one of my female friends are either using one of the Luna devices themselves or know someone who are using it and recommending them to buy it as well. So when Foria reached out and said that they wanted to send me the new 2-in-1 facial cleaner Luna 4, I of course said yes right away. And if you're not familiar with the Luna devices, then this is actually a facial cleaner and a facial massage device at the same time. Let me show you how it works. First, I dampen my face and apply my face cleanser as I normally would. Then I choose my preferred cleansing mode using the buttons on the device or in the free Luna 4 app. Then all I have to do is to glide the front of the device in circular motions around my face and neck and follow the app or tutorial guide to make sure that I clean my entire face. Afterwards, I simply rinse my face in the Luna 4, turn the device around and start one of the several different massage programs to both relax the facial muscles and improve the overall blood flow. Afterwards, I just apply my moisturizing cream and get started with my day. So thanks to the pulsation technology, all the pores will be deeply cleaned. Luna 4 will also effectively remove dirt, oil and makeup residue, and most users are also reporting a greater absorption of skincare products. And I have to say, in addition to these clinically tested benefits, the just overall feeling after using the Luna 4, which I have been doing now on a daily basis for almost a month, your entire face just feels more like firm, more tight, and I guess this is how it will feel like if you have one of those like facelifts. I don't know how to explain it, but just your entire face just like feel awake and just ready for all sorts of adventures which are waiting for you throughout the day. Luna 4 is also fully waterproof using recyclable silicone materials and can be used up to 600 times per charge. There are also no need to change the brush head or purchase any replacement part, which are both economically and environmentally friendly. Now, although you do not need to use the app to use your Luna 4, it does have an app where inside you can change up to 3 different cleansing modes, 5 different massage patterns, and you can actually customize and change both the duration and the strength of each individual cleansing program on each individual part of your face, just to customize that perfect Luna 4 experience just for you. But with that said, even before you start using the Luna 4 for the very first time, you can actually add a lot of information about your skin and your other health routines. This way, your unique Luna 4 knows exactly how to customize your specific treatment in order to give your skin the perfect treatment just for you. If you've had the pleasure of using the previous Luna models, then Luna 4 actually has 17% softer silicone compared to Luna 3. Sadly, I haven't had the opportunity of trying the previous models, but I do have to say that this Luna 4 just smoothly glides over my face without pretty much any friction at all. And if you want to know more about the current promotion, then you have their link down in the description so you can start to treat yourself with your own unique personal facial spa every single day. But although the Luna 4 experience is friction-free, sadly I cannot say the same about finding your dream apartment here in Sweden, since the Swedish system is a lot more regulated, arguably more fair, but most of the time just causing you headaches and all other kinds of issues. Now, in order to explain how it works when you want to find an apartment here in Sweden, I will use the company Vetterhem as a reference, but that's just because that's the only company I have used when I found my first apartment. But after talking to my friends and family, this is pretty much the same process regardless of where in Sweden you want to find your next apartment. Because you see, when it comes to renting apartments here in Sweden, pretty much every single rental apartment is owned by these rental companies. And I'm not an expert when it comes to the entire construction process, but basically these rental companies own the entire building and then they will rent out these apartments one by one. But more specifically how it works, that for example in Taiwan you have one website and you can just search for all available apartments more or less in entire Taiwan using different filters and search criteria. In Sweden you would have to first of all find the rental housing company for that specific city or region you want to stay in. For example, I wanted to move to Jönköping and then I had to Google Jönköping apartments and I found this company Vetterhem, and it will be the same if you want to go to Stockholm or Gothenburg. And then on their website you have to first create an account and then apply to move into one of these available apartments. Another super interesting thing I noticed when it comes to the different search criteria on these websites as well, that if you would go on 591 trying to find an apartment in Taipei or anywhere else in Taiwan, then you have a bunch of different search criteria. For example, close to the MRT, has parking and has elevator, where in Sweden, at least in Jönköping, you only have 4 different extra options to choose from. 3 of them includes balcony, outdoor area and glass balcony, and I think that really shows just how much Swedish people, even if we do want to live in the middle of the city, really value the outdoors and just easy access to the amazing nature and maybe at least sometimes sunny days we have back here in Sweden. Anyway, time for the next step. Let's assume you have found your dream apartment and you just want to sign the contract right away. Now, in Taiwan, it is just as easy as finding the line contact or the phone number to the landlord or to an agency, sign the contract, and you might even have access to the actual apartment the very same day. In Sweden, it is far from that easy and far from that fast. So using this apartment as an example, then people had until the 6th of February to show interest in looking at this apartment, because on the website you have no photos from inside the apartment because the landlord wants to protect the current tenant's privacy and not showing any photos from inside the apartment. And that has to do with when there will be a new tenant living in this apartment, then the housing company will then actually help you renovate and actually change the wallpaper and the floor carpet as well. At least that was the case for me when I moved into this company. So seeing photos of the current furniture and the current walls, the current floor, doesn't really give you that much information anyway, and you will have this blueprint and the overall layout of the apartment. And I think that most people are just satisfied seeing this because it's not really that high of a chance for you actually being able to get this apartment anyway. It's only the top 5 people who will be contacted by the company to say that this apartment will be available for them if not anyone else higher on the list has taken the apartment before them. Basically, long story short, everything is just based on a point system, and you will get points depending on how long you have actively been looking for a new apartment, and you will get bonus points if you currently live in one of the apartments of this company as well. So just as a calculation exercise, we see for this apartment that the top 5 person in the queue currently looking for this apartment has 3,430 points. That means that this person has been waiting for 1,143 days. Assuming they already live in one of these Vetterhem apartments, that person have been waiting for over 3 years just to see this apartment. And this is number 5 on the list, which means that there are 4 people who have been waiting longer than 3 years just to see an apartment here. And this is the same city, because these companies are most of the time just regional. So these people already live in the same city, have been waiting 3 years for finding another apartment by the same company in the same city. So if you are a Taiwanese who think that you can just move to Sweden, spend your first week in a shared apartment on just from a random Facebook group, and then just find your own proper apartment in a week or so, and then have direct access to that apartment, don't. Because it just takes forever. And of course, there's just tons of different paperwork as well. You need to give your social security number. They will run a complete background check just to making sure that you have the income that you say that you do. Depending on these different companies, they all have different rules when it comes to the income. For example, one of my friends who lives in Karlstad, which is another city, they have a rule that a maximum 1/3 of your salary can go towards rent. Just in case something happens, they want to make sure that you do have a buffer so you can still pay the rent for a couple of months. So yeah, it's just not that easy finding a new apartment here in Sweden. But I do have to say, if you are lucky enough to find an apartment, then I would argue that 99% of Swedish apartments are both bigger, more modern, and just cleaner feeling than the average Taiwanese apartment. So I guess that both systems have some pros and cons, but something that I'm extremely grateful for as a foreigner, not currently living in Taiwan technically, but who will move back to Taiwan next month, is just how incredibly easy it is to find an apartment in Taiwan. So if you want to know where we end up sometime, maybe like a month from now, then please do remember to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell so you get notified as soon as we have that new home back home in Taiwan again. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Lukas. It starts with L as in like, ends with S as in subscribe. Please do both, and see you all in the next one.